excited to get this started. I felt like that was the longest intro ever because I'm like, I gotta get back to Sammy. But let me let me get it together. First of all, thank you so much for being here.
Hey, thank you for having me.
This is awesome. All right. So this is I was saying in our green room, back where the cool folks hang out. And before we go too far, please love, like, share, and do all the things you're supposed to do on social media to make sure that other people can see this video. Please don't make me beg. So, okay. So all right. So tonight is the first episode. We've kind of rebranded. So this is Slice of Pie with Mrs. Pie. That's me, y'all. I kept the name. And I'm really excited to have Sammy Rabbit. Sammy, I have been, I don't want to say follow because it's more like stalking for a little bit over a year now on the social media streets for many reasons. I think one of the reasons, and we're going to dig into, who you are and what you do. And then lean into the conversation. For those who are watching, if you're watching it live or you're catching the replay, make sure you drop your questions and we definitely will come back to you. But one of the things that I love to do when I start out is I always try to give people their flowers and kind of why I've been stalking them. And so for you, I think we started talking about fun around money and funds, and you actually put fun in learning about how our kids can, expand their knowledge in financial literacy. But quite frankly, I've been learning a lot of things that you've been teaching kids from myself. So it's not regulated to that. And so I just wanted to, really wanted to give you a genuine thank you for everything that you're doing, because we really need these tools. There's a lot of us that, like if you're like me and Sammy, you're over the hill as far as everyone else thinks. But we've been around for some time, and so finance and financial literacy might come to us in a different way, the way we learned it, the way we experience money, and what do we do with it. So I wanted to just give you that shout out really quickly, say a huge thank you from all of us, all 15,000 of your followers on LinkedIn, all of us who stalk you on all the other channels. I'm trying, y'all, just making sure he knows. We do honestly appreciate everything that you're doing. So let me give you a couple minutes to just share, who is Sammy Rabbit and what is it that you do?
Well, thank you so much, Mrs. Pie. Who doesn't love pie?
Exactly. You see what I'm saying? He's so amazing.
And I do. Before I hop into it, I do want to share one thing regarding being over the hill.
Yeah.
I'm over all the right hills.
Right. Okay. And we look good too, by the way. Let me just make sure people, if you're listening on Spotify in the future, we look amazing. Come watch the video.
Oh, that's a different topic. You look amazing. I can agree to that.
Oh my God.
But look, I want parents to know I'm going to point you in the right direction. And you know what? If you think or find out it's not the right direction, let me know, because I don't want to be pointing people in the wrong direction over the wrong hills. Sammy Rabbit and I and our team, we're going to do everything we can to help you get over all the financial hills you may face, so you have a mountain of cash, a stash of cash, a big pile, so you can eat and buy all the pie you want.
I love that. Sammy just became my brand ambassador. He's just been hired for no pay.
Hey, what
Oh
can
my
I?
gosh.
Yeah, well, I feel like you made a big deposit, and I've got to give you some ROI, some return on the gratitude and love.
I love it.
Plus, I
love
already,
it.
we were in the green room together. And I want
Yeah.
to tell you, Shelly, I've never been cool in my life, so thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate finally getting into the cool group, and I've got to say, I really appreciate your positive energy. And that's a secret. That's one of the things we were talking about. One thing people don't realize is that they're actually talking about money to kids all the time, assuming they have kids or they're around kids, or even if they're around people. We talk about money all the time, just maybe not specifically using the word money or intentionally, consciously with a purpose. And, one of our premises, and I think this is supported by research, is kids from birth, maybe even before birth, they're learning machines. So whether you're purposefully or not purposefully
Yeah.
teaching them, they are learning, they're absorbing all the the sounds and sights that they see and hear while they're awake. I'm not sure
Yeah.
sights maybe slobbering a little bit, but maybe they're reviewing everything that they've heard and seen, but they're taking it, all in. And if you think of kids' brains a little bit like a computer, we're coding it, but not only are we coding it, family members, relatives, friends, and then at some point, eventually, television, YouTube, or whoever, and those are the scary monsters.
That's where, yeah,
all right,
that's where it goes off rails.
Okay, because well, it may be going off the rail before then, but it's going. Those people, they have a purpose and an intention, very targeted with their messaging. Sure, there's some, quote unquote free, let's say, entertainment or maybe education, but woven into that is a lot of other messaging, and that's the big one of the big decisions for parents. Decide whatever you think is right for your family, but you've got to decide essentially who do you want to be in charge of the financial messaging to your children, and you better get it in while they're young, because that is what research also shows, is that adult money habits are largely formed between birth and age 8. Now, some people don't believe that. I have personally led financial education experiences with well over 250,000 children, and hey, believe it or not, I've talked to some of them who are 4 or 5, and they tell you some very amazing things. So they already have feelings about money. I wouldn't quite call it thinking, but a lot of adults don't actually have thinking about money either. So I don't know that they're that far behind, but they definitely have feelings. And one thing, probably every parent has had this experience, is somewhere around, say, 3 or 4, a child will say, I want this, or I want that, or give me this, or give me that. It's kind of like magic. It appears, but actually it's all this coding, everything that we've been sharing with them, either intentionally or probably unintentionally. And then what my mom used to call them birds, the other voices, relatives, whenever I get in trouble, Mrs. Pye, my mom would say, I like, how did you know? Oh, a little birdie told me.
Yeah.
I'm like, who are these birds? And so they're whispering or shouting or taking very targeted aim, like many advertisers do. If you ever go into it here in California, I'm in California, I know you're in Georgia, but I have a suspicion this may be true in Georgia as well. But you go into these convenience stores, whether they're 7-Eleven or at the gas station, and go check out the old Cheetos brand. All right. And let me tell you, I don't know how this happened. All right. But let's say within the last 5 years, you can't even find regular Cheetos. Everything is hot, flaming hot Cheetos. All right. And every school I go to, or after school program, or Boys and Girls Club, oh my goodness, man, the kids are eating these flaming hot Cheetos.
That's right.
How did that happen? All right.
That's right.
Okay. So it just shows you the power of this messaging. And so look, we should, kind of like NASCAR, maybe we should adopt strategies, or let's say recipes that work. Okay. So if you have a great pie recipe, and you're not hoarding it, I'm going to say, hey, Mrs. Pie, can I have that pie recipe? And then what you might do is if you like a little almonds or a little more sugar, add that in. But start with the winning blueprint, something that has proven success. So just going back to your original question, who am I? I'm a guy who thinks a lot about money.
I love that. I love that.
But let me just share one of the reasons why I do. There's a couple of reasons. One is I grew up in a house of 7 people. We had our own version of the Holy Trinity. My mom and my dad, and then my grandmother, and she was like as close to God without being God that we had in our family. And so they had they had 3 commandments essentially. So when it came to money, that was the number one commandment. The answer was No.
That's right. No.
And so they made that very clear. They said, you feel free to ask us for money if you want, but don't be surprised. The answer is going to be no. And you're going to find a lot of consistency in our answer. Okay.
Oh, wow.
I shared this with you earlier. It was
Yeah.
for reasons that made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay. We had limited, we didn't have this thing called discretionary income. All right.
Yeah.
We had this thing called barely enough income to eat and sleep under a roof and put the same clothes on every day and wash them, once every 2 or 3 weeks or whatever the washing cycle was. All right. I was usually trying to avoid that. that I didn't want to know too much about that chore.
That was 7 kids. No.
Hey, so it's like, okay, that was, they made that very clear. Now, something interesting enough, my father added on to that. So we didn't have any income, not even for, sodas were a dime then, not for sodas, not for anything, but something my dad would always share with me is like, we don't have money for that. All of our money is going into, housing, limited clothing, and some food. And then it turned out he had a couple of things he squirreled some money away for himself on, but we won't get into that. But what he said, we'll say it was pie. He had a real
he had a real sweet
pie. He had a sweet tooth, and so but he'd also say, you know what? He would say, Sam, you can have, and I want you to know you can have anything you want if you're willing to work for it. Are you willing to work for it? And one of the things he would do is he'd say, and I would say, sure, I'm willing to work for it. And he says, well, let's call your aunt it was Margaret, Aunt Margaret and Aunt Josie, and they lived together. And let's see if we can wash their cars. Maybe they'll give you $1 or $2 for doing that. And guess what? If they are, I'm going to help you do it. And in fact, I might even be able to find a little bit of money for some soap and a rag or something like that.
Wow.
So he really tried to
entrepreneurship.
Okay. And it was entrepreneurship. My father had a background in sales, but it was also, he wanted us to have a strong work ethic, as did my mother, who, often worked 2 jobs, 5-6 days a week. She was a tremendous role model in that area. So they placed a large emphasis on that, and they instilled hope with this idea that, like, right now this is where we are, but we may not always be here. And so what he wanted to make sure was that if I had the desire and put in the effort to advance myself and started coming into more money, I would know how I would value it and make good money choices. So he didn't wait. He said, you need to know a path that's going to help grow you, not only from an education standpoint. I mean, it's all education, but a traditional education, reading, writing, math, those things, but from a money standpoint, it's something I remember him telling me. He thought, now back then, I'll say that this was in the 60s. We did have a little bit of training relative to money in elementary school. They used to have these banking programs. They were still around at that time, where a banker might come to your school and, they'd pick up your nickels or quarters or dimes or whatever they were. And, they'd give you these little cardboard things where you could place nickels and dimes. Kids love that thing. All right. Stuff. But anyways, somewhere, I don't know if it was in the 70s but slowly as a society, we started abandoning those kinds of values. Now, I'm not going to say those programs were widespread, but they weren't uncommon. Okay. So that was more of I like to call it the thought that was out in the environment. So that was out there. And then there were other messages. I think you shared one with me. My parents would say, no, say, I'm rich, you're broke.
That's right. That's it. My dad would say that all the time. I'm rich, you're broke. And that's that. There was no discussion. Something else we were talking about in the y'all should have been there. But we're talking about, from as a parent, and maybe even because of our age group. And so I think this is wisdom for those of you who are younger parents and have young kids. Okay. This is going to help you. So there's a couple of things. First off is the conversations that we had growing up with our parents with money, not necessarily the same way that we do it now. I think, quite frankly, a lot of us hide from our kids. We don't want to tell them we can't afford anything because we want to fit in and be on LinkedIn and Instagram showing our beautiful vacation photos. I'm just being honest, okay? So there's a mind shift, a mind shift that has to happen for you to be open and honest and have those conversations to say, we're not going to be able to go to blah, blah, blah this summer, but we're going to go here because we're saving funds so that we can go there, and having a different conversation instead of, yeah, we're going to squeeze, we're going to go because we got to look good and make the family happy. It's that conversation. The other thing that came up is being the point that you made about being intentional and being purposeful, and especially when it comes to money and how we use money. Now, again, I made a ton of mistakes, okay? Growing a lot of mistakes. I'm not coming on here as the person who like did it all right. And what I'm learning in the second half of my life is treating money as a tool, not just as a spa trip, not just as a new pair of shoes because I need mental health check. I'm just being serious, okay? And so for a lot of us, if we aren't treating money as a tool and we don't know how, there's still a lot of folks, our age, Sammy, who don't know how. This I think is this is part of why I stalk Sammy and support his programs for real, because there's the information that you're getting it's bite-sized for those who, even if you feel like you're a financial literacy expert, you still should go check out the information that he's sharing. Some of the information that you're sharing is also it's also getting us to think differently about what we think about money and how we're having the conversations with our kids. And so just again, for those of y'all who might be at that point where, look, you understand that you have to make some kind of shift in the way that you're treating money, definitely a mindset shift. Secondly, go check out Sammy's everything, not just for your kids, but also for ourselves. And I think just having an honest conversation about where you are with your finances. And something else you brought up. Now, I wanted to get your take on this. You talked about having this as a fun conversation. And I was saying that, gosh, it does feel stressful when you're talking about finance. It does, why is that? And how, what are your thoughts around, even that environment of how we have those conversations around financial literacy?
First, I want to give you my take on a piece of advice you gave just prior to this.
Yeah.
I have to say, I absolutely 1,000% agree with you. Go check out SammyRabbit.com.
By the way, it's in the chat. I dropped it in the chat.
There's a lot of things one could say. I think, you were giving great advice relative to this also, that, there's a lot that can be said. Just first start taking tiny steps. This is another, I guess I want to share several things, but bring me back to the point in case I miss it.
Yeah, that's right. We'll take everything.
We've all made mistakes. And one of the things, I think this is why we're teachers and coaches and educators, is we don't want younger people or even older people to make the same mistakes we have. Yeah. So we're sharing them. Now they can either take them or leave them, I guess. That's, that's really what it comes down to. So getting back to this whole, be candid. All right. Create a culture of openness, frankness, candidness. All right. So now that may or may not be easy to do, because you hit on something earlier. A lot of people hide from their kids for a whole variety of reasons, but let's say money conversations are one of those reasons. All right. So one of the things that just take small steps. Okay. So, as an older person, I see how small steps over a 1 year period, 5 years, 20 years, man, they really compound, they add up.
Yeah.
So don't underestimate, don't sabotage yourself by saying that tiny step means nothing. Okay. It means nothing if you don't build on it. All right.
Yeah.
But what it is it's a step. And so one of the things as you start to say, get more candid about money, you're going to build the candid muscle, and that muscle
Mm,
will grow and it'll become easier and easier and easier. Now, money, you have to use some parental discretion with respect to talking about money. This is something I think some people don't frame it exactly correct. There's a lot of reasons why people don't like to talk to kids about money. All right,
yeah. Yeah.
because one is because there are some things you should not tell your kids, like,
That's
oh, I make $1 million a week. All right.
right.
Okay, you might wait till they're 13, 15, maybe they're 8. That's for you, the parent, to determine when it's appropriate to share something like that. But information like that could get them beat up, could get them bullied,
That's
could get
true.
them picked on. It could get your house robbed.
That's
Okay,
true. That's
so
true.
you need to use discretion. You just don't. But telling them, say, either giving them the opportunity to say earn $1 or $5, whatever's appropriate for your family, your income, your thinking, your values, or you give them an allowance. I'm not a big allowance guy. I didn't have
I'm
one.
not either.
And
I didn't either.
I'm not anti-allowance, but if you asked me to choose between allowance and no allowance, I would go no allowance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I would say give earning opportunities. Okay,
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm very pro earning opportunities, and let me just say, I'm not opposed to bonuses. Okay, okay, so go earning and bonuses, and that's like an equivalent of an allowance. I just don't like. To me, there aren't really allowances in life, although some people say maybe people will give you money, this, that. But I think these gifts are a great place to start learning to value money. So saying, listen, I want you to say, we need to have a plan for your money, give your pennies a purpose. All right.
Yeah.
So if you get $5 for Mrs. Pie or Auntie Shelley, let's break it into ones, and $1, $2, $3, let's put it into saving. $1 or $2, let's use it for giving and or smart spending, not just spending, smart spending. All right.
Yeah.
let me just say, so people are clear about this, Jeff Bezos does not have enough money to spend for the plans he has. All right. Okay. And so that's true of everybody. So if you're making $100, for most people, they're planning for their spending is at 250. Okay. If you got like Bezos, this is an interesting thing. Jeff Bezos, I'll use him. I'm picking on him, but whoever it is, these people usually don't retire. Okay.
Right. That's right.
So this whole idea of retirement as a goal, okay, I'm not going to throw it totally out, but just understand, if you're doing work you love and you find it very purposeful, you've got plans for a lot of things. Okay.
Yeah.
And so you may need more money or want more money to implement those plans, and you want to see them come to fruition. And usually good pie makers, people give them money so that they can bake more pies. Or if you're a good gardener, and so a good gardener means flowers are actually growing, they're sprouting. All right. Okay. So then more flowers may grow, and money isn't any different. It's the same principle. If you're a good manager of money, usually more money will find its way to you. So going back to talking to kids, say, about saving, okay, that should be an easy conversation. Even if they don't want to save, you might say something like, I think saving is a good idea. And they may say, I don't. Well, that's something we disagree on. Okay.
Right. And leave it there.
Okay. That is a brilliant, tiny step. All right.
Right.
So if you take it into a drag out argument,
that's right.
That's on you. Okay. Stop right there. All right. And tomorrow, come back at it in a different way, or maybe come back at it with the same way, because even if it's the same response, you're starting to build that highway. Okay.
I love that.
Okay. So it's all these little, like if you're chopping a tree, it's all these little chop. It doesn't just fall down magically, that type of thing. Now, let me just say something like, hey, I brought my Sammy saving bank with me.
Oh, wow.
Hey,
Yeah.
lean in, Shelley. I want you to.
You're like, what is happening there?
Well, I want you to hear the sound of saving.
Oh, yeah.
It's magic.
It is.
That's a sound I enjoy. So imagine you have a baby, and let's just say they're in their baby chair. They're eating their baby food and maybe have a little rattle. You know what? Drop a penny into something transparent. Maybe drop 5 pennies because start. Man, the pies. We like to save. We're savers.
I love that.
All right. So that look, I have no idea what's going on in their head. Okay. But what I know is they are hearing,
Yes.
they are seeing. And if you're doing it in a fun way, they're starting to develop, it's not only feelings that seem to affect people's money decisions, but it's also attitudes. All right.
Yeah.
And so a lot of what, it's kind of interesting thinking, about my father who, most of the money messages came from the oral verbal ones. All right.
Yeah.
My mother's were like nonverbal, like she was
Right.
willing to work 5 or 6 days a week, every day. And then she also, I have to say, I don't know how she did it, but she just had a positive attitude, about everything. She was a happy person. She knew how to be happy in any situation.
Oh, wow.
All right. And so that can be a tremendous asset. I
Yes.
think, especially if you don't have any money. Okay.
Yeah.
All
Oh,
right.
yeah.
So let me just say, if a person can figure out how to have a hopeful attitude when they have little, then they do have hope that they can transform that situation. Okay. Then eventually, if they ever start to study history, they'll find out not everyone, but some people, I'm assuming I was sharing with you, if you go back, let's just say 200 years, I said 100 years, but 200 years, 99% of the whole world was poor. Okay.
That's right. Right. And
And
there were no
somehow,
social nets.
okay. There was no
No
Starbucks.
There's
Okay.
no Starbucks.
There was no LinkedIn. All right. There wasn't any of these things. I was just talking to my nephew about his son. I love my nephew and his son, but his son is a little bit of a picky eater. He's a teenager, and so I was giving him my peanut butter and jelly talk. All right. And I said, look, if he wants a little something different, throw a little sugar in there, put a banana in. All right.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, it's peanut butter and jelly every day. All right.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay. It's not a hamburger today, a taco tomorrow, fish sandwich this day. Okay. You got to remember, you're the quarterback. Okay.
Exactly. Exactly.
You're I don't know if you got the memo, you're the parent. Okay.
Exactly. You get to make the call.
You get to make the call. Now, if you hand it off to your kids, that's on you. But you start, and let me say, whether you've started yet or not, today is the best day to get started. Okay. Now, that said, start as early as possible. We're making these financial conversations and transactions every day. Often it's related to time. All right.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is, hey, we're going to go to work. All right. That is a financial, we're making an exchange. We're trading time for money. All right. That's what many adults do. And some, kids, for me, let's say kids could be anybody from 50 and under, but let's say 21 and under. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, a lot of them now, we're in a real entrepreneurial environment now. And there's a lot of these kids at 14, 15, 13, 18. Boy, they can just outmaneuver us. They understand the technology. They can build websites, this, that, or whatever.
Yeah.
Now, what they don't have is experience.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
And what do you do when you get that money? Because
that's
right.
Okay.
What do you do when you again? So for the teens who are gonna watch the replay,
maybe this is why I didn't date a lot, because I'm like, let's invest it. All right.
Right. Exactly.
I wasn't okay. Let's go out and have a big party.
Exactly.
Look, why don't we attend the party, but we'll leave early?
Exactly.
I'll sleep better at night knowing my money's making money too.
That's right.
Let kids know that. And here's another thing I wouldn't shy. So look, just ease into the conversation and then start building up your muscle. And as your muscle grows, no, we're not doing that. If you want to do it, good. I'll support you in earning the money to do that.
That's right. But I
And you,
I love that you said that. Support you in earning the money. Not that I'm giving it to you. Not come
well,
ask me next week.
yeah, okay. Yes, and I'm giving you my time, my energy. By the way, if I'm going to work, they pay me this much an hour for that.
That's right.
Okay.
That's
So,
right.
so anyways, I think one of the keys, say if you're having these struggles, is to reach out to people like Mrs. Pie or myself
Yeah.
or others.
Oh yeah.
Okay. See, you in my mind, okay, I'm half
The
Italian.
network.
I love food. So, any type of recipe analogies seem to work for me. And so, yeah, look, if you find food that you love, you want to get the recipe.
That's
All
right.
right. Well, money has a recipe also. Go to the people who have the recipe that you aspire to. So in every demographic, every market segmentation, there are people who have transformed from whatever the situation is. They may have the recipe. There might be multiple people, so get multiple recipes. Now, let me just say, one ingredient I found in all of these recipes is you've got to work. Okay.
That's right. Yeah. Exactly.
So if that's an ingredient that doesn't excite you, then you may have a problem. Okay.
I love that. You're getting shout outs in the high Sergeant Major field. You're getting shout. If you're just joining, we're talking to Sammy Rabbit, and we were talking about the mindset shift that a lot of us as parents need to have in order for us to have some of the conversations, whether it's conversations with your young kids or with the adults that are living in your houses that you want them to move out. So, this note, let me pull on this thread a little bit when you talk about this community and reaching out to those. So I'm going to give a shout out to Darnell, who's in the room. Hi, Darnell, and Sergeant Major Mario, who's another, amazing gentleman. I also want to call out the Seedling app with Derek Wesley, because that's another tool, right? So huge shout out for the Seedling app. But I want to find out more about the book, Sammy, because again, I am a real fan. Okay.
All right. Thank you. Well, okay, we have 2 books out in print. Yeah, everything we have is, by the way, at sammyrabbit.com. We've got a lot of free stuff and low cost stuff. Buy some stuff, support us. That's
exactly
how we keep baking pies. Okay.
Exactly.
When I go to the store, they ask me for money for the ingredients. so that helps. But we're I'm into this, so I'm trying to do everything I can. I try and surround myself by people like Darnell, like yourself, like Derek at Seedling. I have found that there is something to this idea of birds of a feather flock together. All right. So it turns out that isn't a saying by accident. Okay. What's amazing in the time we live in is the birds that you can flock with can be all over the world. Okay?
That's right.
Like my new friend in Georgia. All right.
That's right. That's right.
And so, anyways, at sammyrabbit.com, we prioritize and emphasize habit formation. So we have 2 books. It's a Habit, Sammy Rabbit. That's for like 5 to 7-year-olds, beginning readers. Maybe your kid could read at 4, perfect for them. So you're the quarterback again. You're the parent. You determine what's appropriate. Or maybe you have a 10-year-old, for whatever reasons, they're reading at a lower grade level. This is a great book for them. The main message is, it doesn't even mention money, okay?
Right.
It mentions an idea that I think is a life-transforming idea. This is the number one message that I recommend all parents start drumming into their kids however they can, with a nice melody to start. If that doesn't work, use a little something, but very gently. Okay. Saving is a great habit. Saving is a great habit. I've got articles all over the place on sammyrabbit.com articulating why I think saving is the number one money concept, habit, principle, idea you should teach children. It has multiple tremendous benefits, okay, that go beyond saving money, which is basically the foundation for greater financial stability, greater financial security, greater financial freedom, wealth, generational wealth, everything.
Oh yeah.
If you don't save, everything's at risk. Okay. So look, once in a while there's exceptions. I don't make my recipes based on exceptions. I make my recipes based on proven, predictable, time-tested results. All right. That's so if you like that stuff,
Oh yeah.
and you like, every time you come to get a piece of this pie, it tastes exactly how you want it, sometimes better. That's what we encourage and deal in. So saving is a great habit. When you think about it, what does saving teach? Teaches delayed gratification.
That's right.
Bingo. That is the mother skill of all success.
Right.
All right. So, and it helps you with your money, not only your saving, but your spending. What I found is people who save, they think they have a different mindset about money. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, and hopefully it leads to a springboard to investing and other things. So saving, that's my number one thing. It's a Habit, Sammy Rabbit. Our second book, Sammy's Big Dream. All right. So this is like for second, third graders, a little beyond the beginning reading. So, it could be 7 to 10-year-olds. It could be 5 or 6-year-olds, just been on their reading level. And by the way, if you're an education trainer, financial education trainer, I read this book to adults, grandparents, college students, everybody. Okay. But I just change up the way I approach it a little bit.
Okay.
So okay. So, hey, I said, hey, one of the things I'll talk to older students and say, one of the things I've discovered, and I'm now dedicating my life to, is I've discovered that, what people call financial literacy, how you use money, is a big challenge and a problem. And my thought is, we need to start teaching kids about this when they're very young. And I thought, what, I like to read, so maybe stories are a good way to go about this. Would anybody like to hear a page or two for my book, Sammy's Big Dream?
Wow.
Okay. Sometimes I sneak in 5 pages. You just monitor. But here's the thing. It leads to a question, and this works for any age. Mrs. Pie, what's your big dream?
Wow. I love that.
What's your recipe, or what's your plan to make that big dream come true? Okay. Wow. And if your plan is divided into sections, what's your earning plan? What's your money management plan? Do you think you have a better chance to get where you want to go if you have a plan? Okay. So he says, so anyways, there's, we've got a lot of variations on how that's what happens when, it goes back to like these conversations at home. I've been doing this over 20 years. It's a muscle. You start, if you have a great attitude and you want to keep learning and you're curious, you will. Okay. I can promise you that. All right. So look, you get into an argument with your kid, hug it out. All right.
Yeah.
And this is what I mean by fun. Don't let them outsmart you. Now look, if you get frustrated, you're going to get frustrated. You're going to get mad. Okay. Give yourself a timeout. Okay. Take a breather, take a breath, do a yoga pose, wash some dishes, do something. Either come back to it with the hug or come back to it in a day, 2 days, run another play. Okay. Run another, I like sports, so I think of things. Okay. I like food, so I think of things as recipes. I like sports. So I think like plays. Education is a process, hopefully for you and your kids. It's lifelong. You never stop learning. Okay. You're never going to learn. You're never going to learn enough about money. Let me tell you something. And we can make mistakes, as you were sharing earlier. Okay. All these people who got taken in by the Bernie Madoff.
Right.
Okay. Let me tell you, I think probably all of them were financially literate.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. So you have to be able to overcome mistakes. You have to be able to avoid mistakes, get connected with these groups, reach out, as we were saying earlier, ask questions. Okay. Wow, that's interesting. What makes you think that? That's a powerful question. And then in your head, you may be saying, I disagree with all of that. When it's over, you say, thank you. Okay. Okay. You want what you already know what you know, but I don't know what Mrs. Pie knows.
That's
but
right.
But I'm thinking Mrs. Pie might
know someone.
She might know something. Like
That's right.
She might know a lot about pies. All right. Okay. That's why she's Mrs. Pie. Okay. All right. So
I love that.
This is how you. So try. Look, it's life is tough. So I'm not. But try to. This is what I loved about my mother. She very rarely, if ever, complained. And boy, she had all kinds of dreams, this, that, whatever it was. But, fortunately, I now joke, but this is true. Okay, we lived in what I call upper poverty. All right. So I found this out in college, all right, in an economics class. All right. The professor said this is where from an income standpoint, this is where the poverty line is. So I think I was 18. So for some reason, I kind of had an idea of what our family income was. And I was like, that's the poverty.
Like that was the number?
Yeah. Yeah. I like, now I have to say at college, this was, it was elevated exposure. So it wasn't just kids from our neighborhood. They were coming from all kinds of neighborhoods, a few from our neighborhood, but a few from some pretty wealthy neighborhoods. So it's like, a little bit of a shock, but I was like, I because we had food to eat, I had friends, I had clothes, and I was able to play. I knew we didn't have a lot, but I didn't know we were at the poverty. Yeah, so anyways, it turned out that actually was a good thing for me. Okay. Because, necessity, this is what I tell sometimes.
The mother of invention.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. If you channel it that way.
Yeah.
All right. And so that's part of what I think my dad's mental program was. Work represents hope. There's a lot of people who like to work.
That's right.
And they open doors for them. Okay.
That's right.
From all, not every time, nothing is perfect, but often, as I said, I love people who love to work. Okay.
I love that.
That's a very attractive quality. It's probably almost, but maybe not quite as attractive as some really beautiful red shoes. One of my favorite colors.
I was gonna say, Sammy's hitting on my other issues. I want to read this comment that came in from for Darnell. I have two of the most. By the way, Darnell, you're included, so you're 3. So I don't know why you're saying I have 2. You're included in this number, but Darnell is also one of the most influential advocates for financial literacy, financial education, and obviously he's naming Sammy Rabbit and Derek Wesley, as I mentioned, Seedling App. And obviously we're excited that you're here. And for those of y'all who are watching, I have one more question for you, but I want to drop just a little note on the books, because I'm not just telling you about these books because obviously I support Sammy Rabbit, but these are tools that you can use for yourself. So for those of y'all who are thinking, I want the basics for myself, and you're of an age, it's still relevant to you. For those of y'all who are looking for great birthday gifts for your nieces, nephews, you don't have to wait until Christmas, y'all. These are things that you can pick up. Maybe it's just you're going to go see some of these kids this summer and you want to bring them something that makes an investment in their future. So a lot of folks are talking about building generational wealth. This is how you build it. Go get the book. Okay? Start with the book so that you're laying the foundation, you're changing the language. Read it for yourself so that you can change your own language in your head, right? And then you'll be able to help our kids. This is the easiest thing. And then, my friends, when you graduate and you need more information, then start reaching out to these incredible advocates, because there's a lot of folks who are really, they put their heart in it. I think what stands out for me, Sammy, understanding more about your why and why you do this, and hearing the story of your family. And I'm so grateful that you've shared that, because it really helps people understand the man behind Sammy Rabbit and your heart and the love of and why you do what you do. It's very, very clear for those of us who are on the receiving end of all the free, y'all. He gives free advice. I mean, there's just so much. Just stalk the man, okay? But there's so much information that you're giving, and it's very clear that it is coming from a place of absolute love for what you do and love for serving others. And so I wanted to ask you one last question, and that is, what do you want to be remembered for?
Sammy Rabbit.
That's what we call layup.
Okay, well, I have to tell you, I could have went for meatball and sausage
Yeah.
sandwich.
I was like, man, I hope he catches his layup I'm giving him.
Okay, so I gotta tell you, sometimes I hit him off the back of the rim. But I mean, yeah, I mean, it's somewhere around 40. I was in a transition in life, and so I was giving it more thought to, like, what's my purpose and why am I
Yeah.
here, and all of that. And look, this I really, at the time, I was in financial services, and I didn't really like most of it, with the exception of every now and then. Actually, it was on a weekly basis. They'd have salespeople come to our office, and these people were really fun. They knew how to sell, and they'd bring in gifts and different things. And it was like, oh man, wow, learning could be fun. And so, but one day somebody brought in a bubble blower and an etch a sketch, if anybody remembers those.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, what's he up to? And so he was really encouraging us to open college savings accounts, which was something I was doing. A lot of the people in our operation didn't like doing that because there really wasn't any financial compensation in that. But he shared his thinking, and it actually aligned with my thinking. But even more importantly for me was, it got me thinking about, why did I start saving and investing money at age 21 in my first professional job? And that's really what made the biggest difference for me, which also is how I ended up cultivating this saving is a great habit message. I really thought to myself for about 6 months, if I can only just share one idea with an adult or a kid, what would it be that they could act on that could be life transforming? And essentially it was this pay yourself first message, but I translated it for kids into saving is a great habit. At the time, I mean, I liked saving, but I really loved investing. But over the last 20 years, as I dove deeper into all the various elements and components of, say, first building financial stability, financial security, financial wealth, hopefully you get the generational wealth, I'm going to say to some degree.
You're right.
Okay. Because there's problems at every level. There's a lot of kids who have generational wealth who are all messed up. All right. There's others who it's an advantage for them. Okay. And maybe that's a good thing, because maybe they're using that money in a good way. Okay. Now, maybe they're not. Okay.
Yeah.
But anyways, there are surprises at every level. So not everything is what we dream and think it will be, with the exception of finding work that you really love doing. Okay, that's everything and more. And so, anyways, this connection, doing that, I translated into saving is a great habit. And I discovered over the last 20 years, what saving really for kids and even adults, but especially kids, this really, it has many, many benefits.
Yeah.
And in my mind, that's where you want to start. And there's a lot of reasons, even though theoretically you may say, well, let's start here or there or whatever. But the reality is, in today's environment, kids are getting money at 3 and 4 and 5, and largely what they're associating money with is you spend it to get flaming hot Cheetos.
That's
or,
right.
or whatever it is. Okay. And so, okay, that isn't going to build financial stability, security, generational wealth, etc., etc. The formula seems to be, you earn here, you spend here. Everybody, you earn here, you spend here. All right. And the rest you put into saving, investing, and growing all these things. And it probably will happen in steps. In the United States, maybe there's a few other countries, but sometimes it can even happen in one generation, which, let me just say, is a miracle historically. All right.
Wow.
So this is another thing. People's expectations are not realistic. All right. This has been a struggle just getting to financial stability or security for, let's say, depending on what your beliefs are, let's say at least 2,000 or 3,000 years, but probably 1 billion years. Okay. Or more. Okay.
Exactly.
So it took us the first 1 billion years to get from, these are what, our dictatorships and all these things that was common everywhere. Look, one of the reasons why, people came to the U.S. They wanted to own their own property. All right. There's other reasons also, but they wanted at least a little more freedom. Okay.
Yeah.
And,
Oh
and,
my
and,
gosh.
and it seems to be growing, not perfectly. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but I
But
don't
it's
know
still
what
growing.
and I don't know where it grows perfectly. That's another problem, is you've got to ask, well, what's the alternative? Anyways, I'm going to end there. I want to say a couple things before I end. First, I want to
Yeah.
thank you. I want to thank you, Mrs. Pie. All right, even Sammy the Rabbit sometimes runs out of energy, but when you find other people have energy, you find new energy.
That's
I
right.
get that from you. I get that from Derek Wesley. I'm glad somebody gave him a shout out. He's a great champion of financial literacy. I want to thank Darnell as well.
Yes.
And I forget his name. You mentioned him, but he's in the service. I want to thank that
Sergeant
person.
Major.
I want to thank Sergeant Major for his service.
Yeah.
We did, when we first got started, maybe a year or two into it, the Air Force Aid Society said, we're going to test you out.
Oh, wow.
And as a result of that, I went to over 60 or 70 Air Force bases around the world. It also led me to doing programs for Navy, Army, Marines are part of the Navy, Coast Guard, all the different agencies. And so I got to learn a little bit about the military culture. And boy, most of them just tremendous people. And boy, the sacrifice that they are making is just incredible. So thank you.
Oh, wow. What a small world. So Sergeant Major Mario Fields, he's within the we're both members of the parade deck community. They're military. We're all military influencers. That's the term.
No wonder I love you.
my husband. I'm in an Air Force family. My husband's
oh my goodness
veteran. Yeah. So it is just this is literally how my life works. Every single thing has been connected in some incredible way. So I will be receiving that on behalf of Parade Deck, who actually, their family. So I'll be receiving that on behalf of these incredible individuals. And Darnell is saying thank you for your service. Thank you to all our veterans. We do have a lot of veterans who watch our replays as well. So this shout out for them. I feel like I haven't talked to you enough. I feel like I just met just an amazing new best friend. This has been such a really good conversation. I feel so encouraged. The information that you shared, I know it's going to help a lot of people. Like I said, it's not just about going to give the information to your kids. Some of us really need to unlearn some lessons that we were taught. And so I just want to say again, thank you so much for coming on and giving us your time, encouraging everybody to please check out SammyRabbit.com. You know where I will be, because that's where I get all my information. That's where it is. And so we'll tell these folks have a good night, but we'll hang out in the back for a few minutes in our fabulous after party.
Hey, perfect. I also want to share with them a message from Sammy Rabbit.
Yes.
Sammy says, remember, you can do it. Now get to it.
I love that. Thanks everybody for watching.